I'm going to throw this image up on the screen if it's not there already. So this was, I'm looking at the timestamp, May 11th of 2020. I was working as a accounting and finance recruiter. So I would go out and find top talent in financial services in Toronto, top accountants, top people in finance, and I would try and place them at jobs, or I would try and pitch them to companies, whatever it is. So I was a recruiter, and I was the top performer at my division, and I was there for about 8 months. This was the pandemic, so keep in mind nobody's hiring at this time. So you can imagine how difficult that might have been. And they say, when I say they, I mean a lot of folks in sales, those who know, tend to agree that recruiting is the hardest form of sales because you're selling people and people change. Like if you're selling a product, the product doesn't change. But if you're selling people, people lie on the resume, people lie about their skills, whether they can speak a language fluently or not. Like it was a whole ordeal. So that was the single most stressful job I've ever had. Hands down, the single most stressful job I've ever had. We're talking like 100 cold calls a day. And like, you know, people it's a high stress thing. And if you know sales, you know, if you know recruitment, you know, but it was my first sales job and likely one of the most beneficial experiences I've ever had because number one, it taught me how to sell. It taught me how to sell. And it taught me that, you know, in a job like that, what you eat is what you kill. Eat what you kill. And that wasn't like a muscle I had really activated in my life up until then. So it was cool. It was cool. There was a salary. There was also commission as well. And I was getting paid all right, but it wasn't like I was, you know, making six figures or anything like that. Like nowhere near that. Especially not then, especially not in the pandemic. But anyway, so I lasted there 6 months. From there, I was going to go into IT. I'd studied cybersecurity and stuff like that. I was also dabbling in wellness as well with meditation and sound meditation at the time. And then I took the wellness route. Background is in hypnotherapy. And from there, I ended up doing coaching as well. Coaching and digital education, which is also what I'm doing. But we're talking about coaching. So that transition, I did not think that I was going to go directly from being a recruiter to being a coach. That's why I give you all that context. And I give you that context to say that the pathway isn't always going to be clear. However, I quit that job because number one, I knew I wanted to work for myself. Did I have a plan? No. Did I have a lot of money saved? No. I thought I was going to just figure it out along the way, start my own business. Was living with my parents, so it was a bit of a luxury I had where I could fail a bit more, right? But like I said, I thought I was going into IT, and so I went back to school. I did a whole program, a boot camp at the University of Toronto, a really good university here in Canada, and you know I learned how to code and all this stuff. Like I was fully prepared to make that the next chapter of my life, and that didn't last too long. I got a job in IT, and then at that point I had started my own business, which is why I left that job. But anyway, so this was the last real time that I worked a corporate job, right? Is being a recruiter. Corporate job where you gotta wear a suit and tie and, you know, cubicles and stuff like that. And there were a couple of things that allowed me to start seeing success in hypnotherapy and as a high performance coach. The first thing is, even though I didn't have a plan, I had a by any means possible attitude. Meaning I was just so burnt out of corporate life that I was willing to figure it out, and I was going to figure it out. And if I didn't figure it out, and I still don't have it fully figured out. If you guys watch my vlogs, you know. But I was going to figure out at least how to make a living and at least how to make my first dollar. And the crazy thing about the corporate world is like, most of the people who work corporate jobs are fully capable of being great entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs. But what corporate does to us mentally, it's like it brainwashes you to believe that you can't do things on your own, that you need a system, right? That you need someone you can call boss to protect you in that way. You need the security and mental peace of mind of a paycheck coming in every 2 weeks. That's what it trains you for. So it really trains you to become a really, really, really good employee. To make you think that only having 2 weeks of vacation is normal. To make you think that you, despite being one of the most talented people in your company, with the numbers backing it up, that you have to go from associate to analyst, from analyst to senior analyst, from senior analyst to then manager, and it has to take you 3 years every time. Like, it makes you think that you have to, like, the system that other companies put in place is the normal thing, where you can only be sick for 10 days of the year, or whatever it is. It's just odd. Like, you are granted 6 days, and all these sick days, you're granted sick days, and all these things were just piling up in my head. And it became so difficult to get out of bed to go to work that I'm just like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Like, why am I spending my life and my precious days? You can die at any moment. I was like, why am I spending my precious days feeling like this, going to a job that I despise? And that's when I left. And so I started looking into, this is now fast forwarding now. I started looking into training workshops and courses I could buy on how to become a coach. And then I realized that, oh, this is just really you helping the old version of yourself become the new version of yourself. And if you can define an area in your life where you have really succeeded, whether it's money-wise, whether it's saving, whether it's fixing your credit, whether it's blowing up on Instagram, whatever it is, if you can find like the after state to what your before version desired, you just have to help walk people through and help build the bridge. But it's a space and a kind of gig where you can just be yourself and you can make money from being yourself. And if people like you, they will pay you. And if you are fully focused on providing as much value as possible, nobody can take that away from you. Nobody gets a cut of your money. Nobody tells you that you have to stay working in your city. I can work from anywhere. You can, in this kind of business, when you're working for yourself, especially like an online-based business, an online-based service, or selling online products, you can work from anywhere. And most people don't, and you can clock in for yourself, and most people don't realize how much of a luxury that is, how much that changes things for you, how much that opens the door for you to building a different life when you no longer have to show up at 9 and you can only leave at 5. Most people don't understand that when you crack that code, everything else now is ready to be changed. It's in the palm of your hands. And so Mark Cuban had this thing where he says, and I'm going to butcher this, but he's like, I'd rather make $50,000 a year or $80,000 a year, whatever, working for myself than $500,000 working for someone else. It was something to that effect. And I understand that now. All of these things, and I'm so glad I jumped ship, because my first few months I wasn't making any money. I was just sitting on the little tiny bit of savings that I had. And when I started making money helping people, helping them rewire their subconscious minds, helping them build confidence, helping them get rid of their limiting beliefs, all these things, like coaching them through that, coaching people like my old self who worked in high stress corporate positions, coaching them to find the confidence in themselves, perhaps to start their own business, like that is the most rewarding thing. And the fact that you can get paid for that is insane. And so when it came to actually building the business, I might make more content on this if you guys want me to show you how to scale a coaching business like this. But I had to figure out who I was targeting. And the best client you can target is the old version of yourself, because you speak their language. When they show up, they'll connect with you just right away visually. How you speak, everything is perfect. So I had to figure out who I was serving, the problem I was solving, and how I was going to solve it for them, how I was going to deliver it to them, whether it's online, in person, is it hypnotherapy, is it coaching, is it both, whatever it is. I had to figure out those 3 things. The goal for who and how I'm going to do it. Then from there, I just started posting a ton of content, talking specifically to that person and getting them to trust me over time. And once the trust is built and once the audience is there and the traffic is there, then we can put forth solutions. And by that time, at that point, if you're doing things right, people will want to pay you. People will want to sit down with you, and they'll be asking you how they can book an appointment with you. So you won't have to worry about that part. You won't have to worry about force feeding and shoving offers and stuff down people's throat. No, you can be yourself. So long as you have a genuine passion for helping other people, the money comes. And so that was my mindset, and it proved to be right. And it continues to prove to be right to this day. And I think the fact that I bounce around from job to job, landing in this last corporate job that really burnt me out, At the time, I didn't know what was happening, and I thought my life was falling apart. But really, this proves to be, it proves the point that things get worse before they get better. Life, when it feels like it's falling apart, it's actually moving things out of the way for the blessings and the abundance and the money or the opportunities to begin to flow to you. And in that turbulence, how you pass that test, shall we call it, is you recognize, number one, that it's just turbulence. It's not the end of the world. It's temporary, as bad as and intense as it may seem. And number two, you focus on handling that turbulence as the best version of you would. A person who's focused, who's disciplined, who can show up for themselves. And that's when everything changes. That's what it means to get out of your own way. To start aligning yourself with the best version of you rather than standing in front of yourself as the closed off, paranoid, doubtful version of you. So I gave you guys a high level timeline and a high level set of context as to how I went from recruiting to coaching. That transition of my life was very significant to me. But if you want to talk about like building the actual business and scaling things, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, hit the like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm out. Peace.